Tibet, the secret knowledge of the roof of the world. There are not a few people who, just hearing the name of this country of snows, Tibet, do not remain unmoved, perhaps because they hear a call as if they remember something important that they have forgotten, and suddenly catches the eye of the mind, makes it rise and to pass the smallest and everydayness to focus on something really high, unknown and familiar over the same time, something strange and mystical in this name Tibet. In search of the roof of the world, as Tibet is called, you'll find yourself on roads that climb up to 6,000 meters high to reach a truly unique region in the world, which is surrounded by mountain ranges that reach 9,000 meters high, over 27,000 feet, and which they are permanently fixed in the sky, where the white of the snow meets the white of the clouds. Something very difficult to understand for one who has not been to high snow-capped peaks. The most amazing thing is that, according to some geologists, the Tibetan plateau was once a sea. The people of this place, about 2 million of them, from the moment of their birth, are at the mercy of the forces of nature, a nature cruel and unpredictable in the sudden changes of sun and rain, snowstorms, ice storms, or even landslides. So in general, the daily life of these people follows the rhythms of nature that they have learned to read and predict its changes. It's not our intention in this short article to describe the secular Tibet, but to penetrate into the inner Tibet as the elements of this intense nature penetrated into the daily life of these people, and without this penetration we could not understand the apparent absurdity of choosing this place for human habitation if there was not an inner philosophy, that is, a higher justification for them living there. These people could not and would not want to live in such an inhospitable place unless they are not common mortals. What is certain, however, is that at least they are not common because they resemble our best athletes, with the difference that the Tibetans maintain their best performances every day, and also that there is no one to cheer them on, move out of the sun into the shade, or to leave more room for others. And most importantly, they don't do it for themselves. They don't live for themselves. Heaven is eternal and earth is eternal. Why? They don't live for themselves, and that's how they live for a long time. As it happens with the fighters, with these people, they write and are written in history. Therefore, delving into the Tibetan belief, we understand that without this higher philosophy of life that they have, theoretical and practical, in such living conditions, human existence could not be overcome, and without this victory over the lower self, the spiritual person does not awaken. The philosophical secret of Tibet therefore lies in that teaching which speaks of three fundamental principles which in nature manifests itself in all its magnificence, and which these same principles, under different names, are found in the philosophy of all initiatory philosophers and civilizations. These three principles are the macrocosm, which is heaven, the microcosm, which is earth, and man. The concepts of Ki, Sara, and Badgan, according to the Corwin-Krasinski translation, and it's the logic, the logos, that permeates and supports the universe. Sara is the principle that owns the world and moves all activity. Badgan is a principle of passivity. It is matter. History is woven of heroic deeds, as we have already said, and as the greatest discoveries were always made by really great people, so the greatest authority of the last centuries in the field of esotericism, in the period 1856 to 1870, Tibet, Elena Petrova Blavatsky visited Tibet 3 times, and through this then young philosopher, the most mysterious Tibet was discovered, as in this place, not by chance, a treasure was kept, perhaps the most ancient book in which terrible secrets were hidden. In the Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky explains, Isis Unveiled begins with reference to an ancient book, and this book is the first source, the original upon which many of the volumes of Kiti were created. It's written in Sensar, the secret initiate language. The divine beings dictated it to the sons of light in Central Asia at the beginning of our own fifth race. There was a time when Sensar was known to all the mystics, and when the ancestors of the Toltecs understood her as well as the lost inhabitants of Atlantis, the fourth race, who in turn received her from the sages of the third race. The Manus inherited from the Devas of the second and the first race. He accurately memorized 2 books from the stanzas of Dhyans, stanza speeches of Dhyans, and from the Sanskrit word dhyana, which means contemplation, and later recorded these books, from which the central body of the vast work of the mystic doctrine, and published them separately. The Zan Stanzas, translated by Blavatsky, are a very small part of a series of books entitled Qt, which are written on palm leaves, which by some unknown technique, maybe alchemical, they have become indestructible, and no known force, water, acids, air, fire, etc., can destroy them. They are written in a very ancient language, Sanjar. It's a hieroglyphic language that is still preserved in some fraternities. And if we realize the authenticity as well as the depth of these writings, then just at the thought of being able to read these books that have so generously offered us the fruit of so much labor, it will not seem wise to let them go to waste. The first book from Zan Stanzas refers to Cosmogenesis. It recalls the arithmosophy of Pythagoras, among other ancient doctrines, and as mentioned above, the same knowledges were common to all the great mysteries. The first stanza describes to us with symbolic images the process of manifestation, manvantara, of the omnipresent, eternal, limitless, and immutable principle, Mahapurusha, or Father, entering into the absolute substance, Mula Prakriti, Mother, and from the union of these absolutes in the beginning, the universe, the body of all, is born, and after a long life period, it will begin to count down to return to the primal, unmanifested state of sleep. The second deals with anthropogenesis, regarding the evolution of man. The positions of the Secret Doctrine conflict with both modern and science-modern religious doctrines. The metaphysical or perhaps exaggerated character of these teachings, through symbolic, is so contrary to the blank letter of the Bible or to the positions of official science as to cause a scandalous denial on the part of today's experts and masters. On the other hand, those related to esotericism know that these teachings must be correct because firstly, they are the most logical, and secondly, they settle all the difficulties that arise giving real answers. First position, it tells us that man is first spirit and then matter, and that as a whole he is sevenfold, hence that apart from the material body he has 6 other bodies. That in the process of his birth he first acquires the soul, his astral body, and then clothes himself with the material body, which is a copy of the astral. That the soul goes through successive incarnations, and with the aim of individualizing of each human soul, which also entails its liberation from karma. Of course, I don't believe this. We only have one life, but I'm just reading you the article. Second place, it tells us about the simultaneous evolution of 7 human races in the 7 regions, the balloons of the 4 levels of the planet. Third position, that man, from his appearance on the planet, is earlier than any other mammal. This is agreed upon by the latest human DNA dating measurements and states that it predates that of the great apes. Also, that the age of man is much older than 18 million years ago, and civilized man is much older. The fourth position, that the first guides or kings of men were gods incarnate. Leaving this brief account to the Zan Stanzas, we'll come back to the Book of Golden Rules, the originals of which are engraved on rectangular plates, while copies are on discs. However, originals and copies are kept inside the temples. Blavatsky says that These rules have the same origin as a great mystical work called Paramartha, which was given to Nagarjuna by the mystics, the Nagas. The writing is often in the Tibetan language, but also in the priestly language Sansar. Few of these rules are before the time of the famous Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, and the rest after him. In total, there are 90 small treatises, of which again Blavatsky had unearthed 39, and some of them she communicated to the seekers of the West. These texts have been published in sections such as The Voice of Silence, The Two Atrapos, The Seven Gates, Light in the Atrapos. Why is the mental likeness mirrored? Dust gathering, dust reflects. It takes the sweet aura of the wisdom of the soul to sweep away the dust from our delusions. Try, O beginner, to merge the mental with your soul. This teaching, though ordinary men may not know it theoretically, just as we do not know much of the things we use, yet all such men are vitally connected with these principles, principles which are confirmed at the moment of their death. And as they are not afraid to die because they have lived with them and will be rewarded for this attitude. In death is seen the true relationship of man with life. So if we are talking about the real philosophy of life, then death, which Westerners fear so much, has a place in it. Be steadfast, O aspirant, like one who endures forever. Shadows live and die. What is inside you will live forever, and that which is within you knows because it is knowledge itself. Bartot Tedol is the Bible guide that, by understanding its philosophy during life, man prepares himself properly so that he is ready and fearless in the presence of death. In this way, he learns to live meaningfully and freely without the fear of death. Show the way, even dimly and lost in the crowd, as the evening star does for those who walk in the dark. Be patient candidate like one who neither fears failure nor cherishes success. Fix the gaze of your soul on the star of which you are the ray, the shining star that shines in the darkness of eternal existence in the boundless plains of the unknown. Well, our light is, of course, Jesus Christ. And this I've translated for you for a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. My Patreon account, the daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.